With Goldberg now a free agent following Elimination Chamber and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John and you're watching the Wrestling Report for February 20th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wrestling Hub Official and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. Talking about the current state of pro wrestling on the Ringer podcast, Jeff Jarrett noted that the industry does not sell individual names anymore. Talent is less leverage than ever, and the reason being, the brands are what is selling. It's no one individual that says, oh my god, if he's not on the show next week or next month or next year, what are we going to do? Those days, you look at a Hulk Hogan, you look at a Ric Flair, you look at Stone Cold, The Rock, they rose above the brand at times during their career, but it's like, what makes a number one hit? Is it the song or is it the singer? You can't have a number one without both. Jarrett would go on to name the biggest challenges for AEW and WWE. So nowadays, you've got to have the marketing, you've got to have an algorithm, and everything that goes with that. But talent, that is, to me I'll put on my executive producer hat. Not just the creative team, but the Vince, the Tony Khan. I think one of their biggest challenges now today is you've got 42 minutes in an hour, and so you've got 100 guys on the roster. How in the world are you going to figure out who gets what time and who gets how much? Because it does come down to that. Following his win in the Elimination Chamber, Brock Lesnar is the WWE Champion once more and will now have the chance to unify the world titles when he takes on Universal Champion Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. WWE would confirm this as a winner-takes-all match, releasing this statement. The table has been set. 2022 Royal Rumble winner and WWE Champion Brock Lesnar is chosen to battle Roman Reigns in a title versus title match. It's winner-take-all in a highly anticipated rematch at WrestleMania. Although Lesnar was originally scheduled to challenge the head of the table at WWE Day 1, Reigns tested positive for COVID and was unable to defend the Universal title at the first Premier Live event of the year. After being fired by Reigns days earlier, however, Paul Heyman once again took on the role of advocate for Lesnar and negotiated for his client to be added to the Day 1 WWE title Fatal 4-Way match instead. Thanks to Heyman's maneuvering, the Beast was free to conquer the field and claim the WWE Championship. During Lesnar's WWE title defense against Bobby Lashley at Royal Rumble, Reigns suddenly emerged when the referee was down and used some surprise help from the treacherous Heyman to strike Brock with the title and allow Lashley to reclaim his WWE Championship. The WWE Universe would not have to wait to see how Lesnar would react. On the same night, the Furious Beast stormed his way to the ring as a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble match and claimed victory in dominant fashion. With the right to challenge the world champion of his choosing, Lesnar emerged the following night on Raw and immediately chose to go to war with the Universal Champion. As a result, Reigns will finally have his showdown against the Conqueror on the grandest stage of them all. Then at WWE Elimination Chamber, title holder Bobby Lashley was removed from the competition due to concussion protocol. This paved the way for the Beast to triumph in the Elimination Chamber match to reclaim the WWE Championship. As a result, WrestleMania will be title versus title. Don't miss a spectacular moment of action when winner takes all at WrestleMania, a two-night event streaming live on Saturday, April 2nd and Sunday, April 3rd, beginning at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on Peacock in the United States and on WWE Network everywhere else. With Bobby Lashley being removed from the Elimination Chamber match, reports have come out that the former champion was injured heading into the event. The Wrestling Observer would even point out that WWE was aware of his status weeks prior to the pay-per-view. He was hurt in the Royal Rumble match and has not competed since then. Now, he is expected to be out for the next few months and will miss WrestleMania. Additionally, this would be noted on the Ringer Wrestling show. I have under good authority that Lashley is shoot hurt and has been hurt since the Rumble match. If you noticed, he hasn't worked any Raws. He hasn't really defended his title. He was shoot hurt at the Lesnar match at the Rumble. From what I'm told, it's for at least 4 months. Shoulder surgery. I'm hearing that he might not even make it to WrestleMania. He's a freak athlete, so there's a possibility. After breaking away from the New Day to go on a WWE Championship run, Big E is no longer holding a world title and is back with his stablemates. Speaking about this on TalkSport, Big E admitted he did not expect to be reunited with Woods and Kingston. For me, this was a transition I will say I did not expect at this time in my career. I don't want any of that to be perceived as me taking away from being with Kofi and Woods. Reuniting with them is my greatest delight. With Tony Khan revealing a huge announcement is coming for AEW, Dave Meltzer would note on Wrestling Observer Radio that this is likely not a new signing. I know whatever it was not a done deal on Thursday, because he was still doing meetings on it, but he was excited. He did say it was a big deal. I didn't sense it was a guy, but more like a business deal. Not sure if it's new content or a television deal overseas. I didn't get the sense that he's putting together some giant signing. With him currently out of action, recovering from injuries, former AEW champion Kenny Omega has his sights set on a match against Adam Cole, as he said this about it on Wrestling Observer Radio. I genuinely feel there is an opportunity to tell a very interesting story with Adam Cole at some point, but I just don't know when. I don't like ever being bound to something by a certain time. Like, I love being able to feel the atmosphere, to listen to the fans' response, to really gauge when the proper time is to pull the trigger. So when the timing is right, or as right as it can be, hopefully I will be able to delve deep into that storyline. Meltzer previously noted that AEW is likely planning a feud between Omega and the Bucks and the Undisputed Era, so we'll have to see if that comes to fruition when the Cleaner returns. During the Men's Elimination Chamber match, Brock Lesnar dominated proceedings en route to winning the WWE title. Now, PW Insider has reported that Lesnar smashing through the chamber door to enter the bout was not a planned spot, as the Beast looks set to unify the titles at WrestleMania. Speaking of Lesnar, he had a lot of interesting stories to tell during his recent appearance on the Pat McAfee show, one of which included him throwing his brother through a china cabinet. As he said, "I was fighting as a kid. The local people from Webster, South Dakota will tell you the Lesnar family were fighters. I was 6 years younger than my two older brothers who were getting out of jail on Monday mornings and going to school because of street fights. I grew up with that stigma. We went to street dances, I went there to fight. That's what we did. That's what I did anyway. Then it was girls and I have a couple of drinks. My mom said, you have to make some money with this stuff. I put my mom and dad through hell. We were fighting all the time. My brothers were fighting and it was World War III. I fought my older brothers, put them through kitchen tables when I finally grew up and had enough of their shit. I was probably 18. I put my brother through the china cabinet. My mom and dad just cracked a beer as was. This needed to happen." With Goldberg having his final match on his WWE contract against Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber, WrestlingNews.co has reported that the WCW legend is now a free agent. Now it remains to be seen what is next for the WWE Hall of Famer. During his appearance on Wrestling Observer Radio, Kenny Omega would also talk about the AEW video game that's coming up, as he teased an announcement. "We actually are working on our next presentation, so for that we have been working non-stop around the clock on this game. I would expect hopefully to have something prepared for people to show very soon. I don't want to promise at the pay-per-view or in that pay-per-view week, but we were hoping to possibly show a little more where we're at and a little bit more progression, revealing possibly a character or characters." With his WWE non-compete clause set to expire in March, Jeff Hardy will be able to join and compete for another promotion, which has fans very excited. Touching on rumors of Hardy coming to AEW, Wardlow noted on the Battleground podcast that he'd love to work with him. "Just sharing a locker room with Jeff Hardy would mean the world to me. To be involved in any type of match with him would be amazing. I personally would rather team with Matt and Jeff to take on 3 others, rather than wrestle Jeff myself." After winning the Women's Elimination Chamber match, Bianca Belair has earned a shot at the Raw Women's title, so she'll be facing Becky Lynch at WrestleMania 38. Becky acknowledged this after she defended her belt against Lita, taking to Twitter to write, "Congrats Bianca, the only two women to win the main event of WrestleMania go head to head in the main event of Mania. Maybe this time I'll beat my own record." While he was supposed to make an appearance at Elimination Chamber in a non-wrestling capacity, Kurt Angle previously said on his show that plans for him to return to programming for a few weeks were dropped. He would go on to note on his podcast that he was never scheduled to appear at WrestleMania 38. There are a lot of rumors going around that I was supposed to be booked for WrestleMania 38, which is not true at all. If you saw the post, a lot of people thought that I was talking about WrestleMania when I was talking about what I was going to do at the Royal Rumble, and have the program for a few weeks. Then the blow-off would be in Saudi Arabia, where I would referee the match between RK Bro and Alpha Academy. Former WWE star Lars Sullivan is mired in controversy for his previous insensitive comments as well as his pornographic film, but he's been making people uncomfortable on social media lately. Last year, he liked a bunch of pictures on a woman's account which led to her asking for help. Now, indie pro wrestler Michael Young went on Twitter and asked, "Why did Lars Sullivan just like my engagement photos from October?" He would also add that he does not follow Sullivan. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.